Divine Secrets Unveiled. The miraculous revelations of Carl Jung's Liber Novus after 40 years. In a quaint English village, rain lashed against ancient stone chapels, and thunder rumbled like the voice of an unseen god. Thomas, a devoted churchgoer with a heart as warm as the candle flames flickering in the local sanctuary, prayed with fervor that night. He ached for direction, for clarity amidst the swirling tempests of modern life, and his voice soared into the storm, "Lord, guide me." But as the wind howled and the lights flickered, something shifted in his quiet corner of faith. Amidst his prayers, he stumbled across a dusty tome. Hidden beneath the floorboards of his humble home, the long-forgotten Liber Novus by Carl Jung. As he turned page after page, an unspeakable energy coursed through him. Insights poured into his spirit like refreshing rain on thirsty soil. His faith began to unravel like a tapestry, each thread a cherished belief unraveling in the face of new insights. What if dreams held just as much truth as divine scripture? What if the psyche was another path to understanding God? With these questions swirling within, a miracle struck their peaceful village during an evening prayer vigil. As candles flickered solemnly beneath the vaulted ceilings, the congregation prayed for little David, a terminally ill child whose laughter had once filled the church. Suddenly, a luminous warmth consumed the room. Those present gasped, their breath taken away as the child sat upright, healed a vision of perfect health, radiating divine light. Whispers erupted through the crowd like fire in the fields. "Did you see that? It's a miracle. Truly, he is here among us." Joy and disbelief danced hand in hand, igniting a frenzy of fervent debates throughout the village. Yet, in the midst of this divine revelation, Thomas felt a growing rift within himself. The miraculous healing of little David clashed with the new psychological truths he had uncovered. Could these modern revelations coexist with the miraculous? As his community erupted in praise, Thomas grappled with his inner storms. He sought solace among his family, but they, too, viewed his thoughts with skepticism. Would the congregation accept his struggles or cast him aside as an unbeliever plagued by doubt? At a crucial gathering in the village hall, where hearts stirred with questions, Thomas found the courage to voice his own revelations. What if faith and psychology are two sides of the same coin? He implored, his voice faltering but fierce. But the congregation replied with doubt, their disbelief a heavy fog, clouding the once sanctified air. Just as despair threatened to consume him, a surging clarity washed over him, a divine vision. It filled him with warmth and conviction, revealing a purpose he'd long sought. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the village clergy led fervent prayers for unity, Thomas felt an awakening stirring in his heart. Could he unite the traditional beliefs with his newfound knowledge? Each miracle whispered sacred secrets to him, teasing at the essence of faith itself. Thomas stood at a precipice, the weight of expectation heavy on his shoulders. With every passing moment, the village awaited his guidance, their confusion thickening like the mist on a winter morning. Would he bridge the gap between centuries of faith and the spark of modern understanding? A deeper, more unsettling question emerged: what if the truths he discovered would lead them to miracles yet unseen? The air crackled with potential, stirring excitement and anxiety. As thunder rolled in the distance, the village, once bustling with ordinary life, now teetered on the edge of something extraordinary. It had been weeks since the miraculous event, and Thomas felt the weight of his community's uncertainty pressing down on him like the thunderous clouds looming overhead. He was awakened nightly by visions of possibilities, each one flickering before him like the candle flames that lit the church. In those moments, he could almost hear goddess whispers, urging him to embrace both the sacred and the psychological truths he had unearthed. One quiet afternoon, As the sun cast a golden hue over the village, Thomas wandered to the old chapel, drawn to its time-worn beauty. He entered, a sense of reverence washing over him. Here, beneath the carved wooden beams and stained-glass windows, he felt a connection to the divine. But today, it wasn't merely faith that filled the air. It was clarity. He knelt before the altar, hesitating before offering a prayer. "God, grant me wisdom," he murmured. "Help me understand how to share these revelations without fracturing our faith." As he prayed, a gentle breeze whispered through the open window, rustling the pages of the Liber Novus that he had carried with him. He opened the book, and his eyes fell upon a passage that spoke deeply to his soul. Jung had written about the intersection of individual experience and collective beliefs. It stirred something within him, a spark of hope. What if his path was not to tear down the old ways but to weave them together with this new understanding? Inspired by this clarity, he began to formulate a plan. He would organize a series of gatherings in the village, a space for open dialogue. Each person could share their thoughts, their fears, and their experiences. Could sharing their stories create connections? Could healing happen in this shared vulnerability? With renewed vigor, he returned home, invigorating those around him with his vision. "Let us gather," he said to his family, his voice steady yet hopeful. "Let us explore these truths together, as one." The family responded cautiously, their faces etched with a mix of curiosity and concern. They loved Thomas, yet they worried about the path he proposed. "What if it leads to more confusion?" his mother asked gently. Yet her concern felt mingled with a glimmer of faith, a desire for understanding. "Then we will navigate it together," Thomas replied. "We will seek God's guidance through each question raised." As the word spread about the upcoming gatherings, the village buzzed with mixed emotions. Some voices cheered, filled with excitement for a fresh approach. Others remained skeptical, the shadows of doubt swirling in their hearts. Thomas felt both exhilarated and terrified. Would they embrace this new path? Month after month, this uncertainty lingered, a delicate balance between potential and fear. On the eve of the first gathering, as twilight cloaked the village, Thomas found himself standing by the window. The world outside was a canvas washed in deep blues and purples. He closed his eyes, letting the moment seep into his spirit. "Show me the way, Lord," he breathed, trusting that he was not alone in this venture. That night, the moon hung low and bright in the sky, illuminating the path ahead. As villagers arrived, their faces glowed with anticipation and trepidation. Would this be the birth of unity or the unraveling of belief? The charged air shimmered with possibilities, as Thomas stepped forward to welcome them. And in that moment, he understood sometimes, the journey toward truth is paved with questions. And in embracing those questions, divine revelations await. What would emerge from this gathering of hearts longing for understanding? As the candles flickered softly, illuminating anxious faces, a divine mystery hung in the air, poised to unfold. The soft glow of candlelight danced against the walls of the old chapel, creating a sanctuary of warmth in the cool evening air. Thomas stood at the front, his heart beating in rhythm with the flickering flames. He looked out at the faces of his neighbors, some eager, some apprehensive. Each story held a thread of faith, woven into the fabric of their community. Yet now it lay open for examination. "Welcome, everyone," Thomas began, his voice steady but filled with an underlying tremor of excitement. "Tonight we gather not just to talk, but to listen. Each of us carries a story, a piece of a greater truth." He felt the weight of their gazes, curious and cautious. A murmur ran through the crowd, a blend of anticipation and worry. Could sharing their fears illuminate hidden paths? Could opening their hearts bring about healing they had longed for? Thomas believed it could. As he continued speaking, he encouraged each person to share their experiences. One by one, the villagers began to find their voices. An elderly man spoke of a dream that had once changed the course of his life. A mother shared her struggles with faith after losing a child, her tears a testament to sorrows unshared until now. Each confession was a step toward light, a piece of vulnerability uncovered. Thomas listened intently as the stories flowed like a river. He felt a tightening in his chest, an inexplicable joy tinged with the sorrow of the very human experiences being laid bare. Here was something sacred happening, a communion of souls seeking understanding. Then, from the back, a young woman rose. Her face was pale, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped her seat. What if we find answers that challenge everything we've ever known? She spoke, her voice low but clear. What if this new path leads us astray? What if our faith shatters? Thomas nodded, recognizing the fear woven into her words. That is the heart of tonight's gathering, he replied gently. We may find that God's truth is larger than our own understanding. It is okay to feel uncertain. In these moments of doubt, we can experience deeper revelations together. The air thickened with a blend of apprehension and hope. Who would lead them through these sacred questions? Thomas suddenly clutched the Liber Novus, feeling its pages pulse with prophetic energy. It was not merely a book. It felt like a bridge to something greater. With each shared story, each moment of vulnerability, the atmosphere shifted slowly, almost imperceptibly. What began as scattered hearts now played a symphony of unity. In the cadence of their dialogues, Thomas sensed something divine and unmistakable presence settling upon them, enveloping their fears and igniting their spirits with courage. Perhaps, he said, a soft light illuminating his face, our doubts aren't enemies. Perhaps they are invitations to deeper faith. He paused, allowing those words to resonate. The room fell silent, and the silence held a powerful weight thick with possibility and reverence. What awaited them could rewrite their understanding of God, of faith, and of one another. As the evening drew to a close, Thomas realized they had only begun to scratch the surface. Questions still lingered, each one a stepping stone toward deeper truths. What transformation would emerge from this shared exploration? How would the revelations continue to shape their lives, each day a canvas waiting for divine artistry? A hush settled over the chapel as the last candle flickered. Thomas' heart swelled with anticipation. The story was just beginning, and he could feel the winds of change whispering through their gathering. But what would God reveal next? The atmosphere in the chapel hung heavy, yet vibrant, as if the very walls were straining to capture the weight of their emerging truths. Thomas felt the heartbeat of each person present a collective pulse of yearning and uncertainty. He could sense the change stirring, like a gentle breeze that speaks of rain. It was the promise of something profound, awaiting its moment to unfold. That as he gazed around the room, he saw the flicker of resolve in the villagers' eyes. They were all drawn into this sacred circle, each person knitting their stories into a greater tapestry. It was here, in this very space, that faith could be resurrected, understood, and perhaps even transformed. A middle-aged woman, her hands clasped tightly, rose to speak. I felt alone for so long, she began, voice trembling lightly. I've doubted whether I was worthy of love, whether my suffering mattered. But tonight I feel each of you, and you feel me too. Her words hung in the air like a fragile note, resonating with others who had wrestled silently with their worth. Several heads nodded in agreement. The young woman from earlier, still contemplative, stared at her, and then turned to Thomas. How do we confidently step into the unknown? She asked, her voice quivering slightly yet strong. When we unveil our fears, we risk losing everything that once felt safe. Thomas felt the gravity of her question. Faith is often found in the very act of stepping out, he replied, searching for the right words. It's like walking on water. You only begin to sink when you doubt the truth beneath your feet. What if we embrace this moment of uncertainty? What if we allowed faith and doubt to coalesce into a single offering? The light from the candles flickered, casting playful shadows that danced on the walls. Thomas felt an inner warmth blossom, the spirit of trust weaving through the air. He picked up the Liber Novus, its pages worn yet powerful. This book speaks of the inner journey, the grappling with identity, the searching for meaning. Carl Jung believed that our fears and doubts are not just obstacles but gateways to profound discoveries. A murmur of interest rippled through the chapel. Shadows of skepticism began to lift, replaced by intrigue. Like the chrysalis that breaks to set the butterfly free, Thomas added, could our trials be seen as necessary transformations? Each sharing tonight is a step towards freedom. The words poured out with ease, a fervent hope illuminating the way forward. Then, a hushed voice came from the back. But what if we change so much that we no longer recognize ourselves? It was the young woman again, brow furrowed, her eyes mirroring the fears of many. A soft silence fell, filled with the unspoken acknowledgement of that deep, common anxiety. Thomas took a breath, allowing the weight of her question to gather resonance. Perhaps, he suggested, the greatest act of faith is to trust that our essence remains, even as layers peel away. In this divine dance of discovery, we find both loss and the promise of renewal. The congregation seemed to breathe together, their uncertainties mingling in a sacred atmosphere rich with compassion and possibility. Thomas felt a shift deep within, as if the air thickened with light. Each of their stories, fragile yet strong, could become catalysts for spiritual transformation. As the final candle flickered, casting its last golden hues across the chapel, Thomas realized they were standing at the edge of something monumental. The revealing had only just begun, each voice, each story, each question carving pathways into the unknown. What awaits us when we embrace this journey together? He mused aloud, his heart racing with divine anticipation. An electric stillness responded, pregnant with hope and a hint of divine mystery. As they lingered in that moment of silence, they wondered, could this fragile unity lead to an unexpected revelation that would redefine their lives forever? The burden of uncertainty faded slightly, and a newfound resolve took its place. However, Thomas sensed there was more to unfold, deeper secrets, hidden just below the surface of their shared faith. What was God preparing to reveal next, waiting in the wings of their hearts? The chapel remained still, each breath a silent prayer. Thomas felt the weight of anticipation resting on his shoulders. He could sense the invisible thread connecting him to each individual, an electric bond forged in vulnerability and yearning. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again, almost as if a whisper from above had stirred the air. The flickering candlelight dimmed momentarily, a sign of something profound about to unfold. Across the room, eyes were searching for understanding, faces lit with a holy curiosity. I think we fear change because we believe it signifies loss, spoke a voice from the edge of the circle. It was an elderly man, a town fixture, known for his wisdom. But what if we looked at it differently? What if change is simply the way God invites us deeper into his love? The villagers paused, absorbing his words. Thomas felt a swell of hope inside him. There it was, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds, a shift in perspective that ignited the spark of understanding. But how do we embrace this love amidst our fears? The young woman interjected. Her voice was stronger now, no longer merely laced with trepidation, but filled with an urgency, a desire to uncover the truth. Thomas stepped closer, searching his heart for the right words. Think of love as a river, he began, his tone gentle yet assertive. At first, we stand at its edge, hesitating to cross. The deeper we wade, the clearer the waters reveal themselves, until we're enveloped, swept up by a current more powerful than we can imagine. In losing ourselves to that divine flow, we discover the fullness of life. Nods of understanding rippled through the crowd as they collectively visualized the picture he painted. But what if we drown? The elderly man asked softly, but there was an underlying strength in his shuddering voice. What if the current takes us to places we can't return from? Thomas paused, feeling the weight of the question settle heavily among them. Trust, he answered simply. In that leap of faith we find not just courage but purpose. Each challenge we face only serves to deepen our connection with God and with one another. Our greatest fear could become our greatest gift. A murmur of shared faith roamed through the chapel, igniting the hearts of many. Hope flickered like the candle flames, wild and bright. Thomas continued, fueled by the unspoken agreement unfolding around him. In this journey, we will unearth hidden treasures. As Carl Jung pointed out, our shadows are not to be feared but embraced. They lead us into a fuller understanding of ourselves and unveil the divine in us. The words hung in the air, alive with promise. A rush of energy surged through Thomas, companions of the heart intertwining under a single trust. From the back, someone stood. A young man with tears shimmering in his eyes. "I've kept my struggles within for so long," he confessed, voice cracking. "I felt I wasn't strong enough. I feared judgment." A collective intake of breath echoed through the chapel as eyes turned to him. "Hasn't he tonight shown us our strength lies in togetherness?" Thomas encouraged, feeling the swell rise in the room. "Our stories, when shared, weave us into a deep fabric of strength and love. Your vulnerability is an offering, a bridge connecting us all." A profound silence surrounded them, deeply felt yet charged with expectancy. Thomas's own heart beat steadily, echoing the trust woven in the air. He could almost see the threads of faith stitching them closer together, tighter still, each one forging a path through their uncertainties. As they sat in that sacred space, Thomas couldn't shake the feeling that the night was leading toward something magnificent. They had just begun to peel back the layers. "Will we gather as one and share our stories?" he asked, feeling like a vessel for a higher calling. The congregation murmured, eyes lighting up with determination. They understood. They were ready to reveal more. But as they prepared to speak, a low rumble echoed from outside, deep and resonant. The ground beneath them felt alive, thrilling with energy. "What was that?" someone whispered. And in that moment, with hearts racing and eyes wide, Thomas grasped the weight of the question that hung in the air. What new mysteries awaited them in this sacred embrace? And what would be revealed in the midst of shaking ground? The rumble intensified, a primal call awakening something deep within their souls. Each participant felt it, hearts thumping as if the earth was drawing them together in a dance of reverence. Thomas looked around, his gaze catching the flicker of dread in some faces, yet in others, he saw a glimmer of resolve igniting. "Perhaps," Thomas ventured, raising his voice above the trembling walls, "this is an invitation to step deeper into the mystery." The air thickened with unspoken thoughts, the kind that hover just beyond the surface, waiting for light to shine through. The elderly man nodded, his face now illuminated with an inner glow. The very earth shakes under the weight of revelation. Change is not a thief of our comfort but a harbinger of divine truth. Can we not view this tremor as God stirring within us? A collective murmur of agreement flowed through the chapel, echoing off the stone walls. The young woman, eyes wide with wonder, stood up. "This is the moment we embrace our fears and uncertainties. Is that not the essence of faith? To dive into the unknown, to meet God where He beckons us?" As she spoke, Thomas felt the walls of the chapel come alive, each crack and crevice resonating with shared history and hope. The trembling ground beneath them mirrored their emotional landscapes, a beautiful reflection of their internal battles. He stepped forward again, compelled by an unseen force. Each of us carries a piece of the divine within us. When we gather and share our stories, we illuminate those hidden corners in one another. Even the shadows have wisdom to unveil. None of us are alone in this journey. Let's speak our truths. With that invitation, hearts began to open like spring flowers. One by one, individuals stood, like rays of sunlight piercing through heavy clouds. They began to share confessions, dreams, regrets, and hopes, vulnerable stories that shaped the rich tapestry of their lives. The young man who had spoken earlier shared tales of hidden pain, of battles fought in silence. The elderly woman shared of lost love and the empty nest that haunted her prayers. Each story flowed freely, creating a gentle current that swept through the gathering. Laughter and tears intertwined, joy mingling with sorrow, creating a symphony of human experience. In that sacred exchange, the rumbling outside faded into a background hum, overshadowed by the strength of their community. Every voice mattered, a note in the greater melody of life, each an essential thread in the fabric of divine purpose. Thomas felt the warmth of belonging swell within him, an echo of how God weaves all stories for His glory. But just as a silence settled, pregnant with expectation, The ground shook one last time, this time with a force that felt alive, almost joyful. The candles flickered wildly, casting shadows that danced like spirits around them, urging them deeper into the unknown. What could this mean? Someone breathed, awestruck as eyes turned to Thomas for guidance, that he sensed the urgency in the air. God is moving among us. We must lean into this moment. What if, in this shaking, we discover something anew? The room tightened with anticipation, the atmosphere so thick it felt almost electric. They had embarked on this journey together, and now stood on the precipice of revelation. "Let us pray," Thomas encouraged, allowing the congregation to gather in close, hands clasped, heads bowed, an intimate circle, each heartbeat a testament to their unity. As they prayed, a brilliant light flashed through the window, catching everyone's attention. The light, pure and inviting, spoke of something divine just beyond their reach, a pull that urged them into a deeper trust. In the stillness that followed, Thomas found himself whispering with a newfound urgency, "What awaits us in the shadow of this light? What divine secrets will break forth from the earth's tremor?" The question hung heavy, the congregation holding their collective breath, aware that a door had opened, and they were being beckoned to step through. The flickering light danced in their eyes, illuminating fear and hope alike. Each person held their breath, hearts echoing with the weight of the unknown. Thomas felt a current of uncontained energy ripple through the group, a shared heartbeat beating in time with his own. "What if," he murmured, "the light before us is more than just illumination? Perhaps it is a manifestation of the divine calling." As if in response, the brilliance intensified, filling the chapel and casting aside the shadows. People gasped in awe, stretching their hands toward the ethereal glow. The elderly man who had spoken earlier steadied himself against the wall, his breath quickening. "This is no ordinary light. It carries the essence of something sacred." The young woman stepped closer to the window, squinting into the brilliance. "I feel a pull, a yearning deep in my spirit. It's as if God is inviting us to fully experience this moment, to uncover what lies beneath the surface. Are we willing to follow?" The congregation paused, the weight of the moment pressing down, a silent communion of souls searching for courage. The air was thick with possibility and promise. Thomas looked around, and he could see that their hearts began to stir, embers awakening into flame as the hesitant began to take a leap of faith. "Let us heed the call," Thomas proclaimed, his voice steady and resolute. "If we embrace this divine light, we might discover the deeper truths we've been searching for. Let us raise our voices in praise." In unison, one by one, they began to chant softly, a melody born of hope, surging into a chorus that reverberated through the chapel. As their song filled the space, the brilliance pulsated, merging with their voices, weaving a tapestry of worship that encircled them like a warm embrace. With each note, the tremors outside seemed to synchronize, the ground responding to their faith. Then, at that pivotal moment, something incredible happened. A figure materialized within the light, luminous and serene. Gasps of wonder enveloped the room as they beheld a man, cloaked in brilliance, his eyes shimmering with wisdom. "Do not fear," he spoke, his voice gentle yet resonant. "You are seen and known. Each story you shared today has created a bridge. In your unity lies your strength. The trembling earth is but an echo of the transformations taking place within you. You are not merely witnesses to God's revelations, but instruments of His love." Tears glistened in the eyes of the congregation, overwhelmed by the grace that enveloped them. "Your vulnerability has opened the heavens," the figure continued, "and now you stand on the threshold of divine secrets. What you seek is already within you, waiting to be revealed. Will you surrender your earthly fears in pursuit of spiritual understanding?" At that moment, Thomas felt a stirring within him, a deep recognition that they were being invited to a journey far beyond their imaginings. "Yes," he shouted, the conviction ringing clear. "We will embrace the unknown." The luminous figure smiled, illuminating the space with a brightness that transcended the physical. "Then step forth into that light. Each of you carries the seeds of revelation destined to bloom. The journey ahead may feel daunting, but remember that every step taken with faith is a testament to your trust in the divine." With hearts buoyed by courage, they looked to one another, exchanging glances filled with resolve. They felt the call to rise, to venture into the unknown together. As the mysterious figure began to fade back into the light, he left them with this parting thought. In each of you, there exists a spark of the divine. Do not hide it, but let it shine brightly for the world to see. Love is the key that unlocks every door. And just like that, the brilliance intensified one last time, enveloping them in a divine warmth. Let us go, Thomas shouted, as they stepped forward, united in purpose, each soul eager to explore what awaited them. But even as they moved towards the light, a question lingered in the air, a whisper of anticipation. What revelations lay ahead, and how would they transform their lives forever? As they stepped into the luminescent embrace of the light, a wave of serenity washed over them. It was as if every burden they each carried was gently lifted, replaced by a sense of purpose and solidarity. Thomas took a breath, feeling the warmth seep into his very bones, igniting a fire inside that he had long forgotten. What do we do now? A hesitant voice quivered from the back. It was Sarah, the young woman who had first expressed the yearning in her spirit. How do we begin this journey? The brilliance enveloped them, and in its glow, they began to see glimpses of their own reflections, not just physical forms, but the hearts and souls within. Each person, now illuminated, bore the marks of their experiences, their struggles and aspirations. Thomas looked around, sensing the collective heartbeat pulsing with newfound clarity. We must listen, he urged. The light will guide us. In this moment we seek understanding. With this shared commitment they formed a circle. As they joined hands, a hush fell over the chapel. The brilliance pulsed like a living thing, responding to their unity. Thomas closed his eyes, focusing on the whispers that brushed against his spirit. Suddenly he was swept away into a vision. He found himself standing on a hill under a bright sky. Below, a vast field stretched out, dotted with flowers of every color. In the distance, shadows appeared, people from their community. They moved with urgency, planting seeds into the rich earth. Each seed glimmered with the same light that filled the chapel, as if the very essence of the divine was contained within. What does this mean? He wondered, feeling a stirring of recognition in his chest. In that moment, the luminous figure reappeared beside him, radiating love and wisdom. Every seed is a dream, a hope, a revelation born from pain and joy alike. When nurtured by faith, they blossom into miracles. Thomas's heart soared. He understood then that the journey ahead was not just about their individual experiences but about how they would tend to the seeds they carried. It was a call to action, to cultivate the divine purpose within and share it with the world. He felt an urge to speak, to share this revelation with the group. We are called to plant our seeds, to allow them to grow within us and into the world. Each act of love, kindness, and courage we extend will nurture the dreams of our community. Words danced in the air, igniting passion and determination. One by one, the others expressed their dreams and fears, vulnerabilities spilling out like the seeds being scattered across the field. As they shared, Thomas noticed the pulsing light flickering in response, synchronizing with their hearts. It seemed to affirm each declaration, embracing their struggles and joys without judgment, painting their journey with compassion. I feel it, Sarah declared, her voice growing stronger. When we share, we grow. It's not just about me or you, it's about us. Their voices raised, a harmonious symphony of dreams, each note resonating in the divine light. Thomas could barely contain the joy that filled him. They were not alone. They were together, ready to embark on this sacred journey. But in the quiet moments after their fervent exclamations, the atmosphere shifted. A sense of urgency filled the air, and the ground beneath them trembled once more, though this time it felt different. Thomas looked around, his heart thumping, trembling with anticipation. What is happening? Are we ready for what lies ahead? Suddenly, the figure spoke once more, the warmth of love surrounding him. Transformation is near, but are you prepared to face what may rise from the depths of your souls? In that instant, Fear and excitement mingled on the threshold of their hearts. Deep down, they understood. Their journey had only just begun, and with it came the potential for both miraculous discoveries and daunting trials. What awaited them in the depths of their revelation? Would they emerge radiant, or would shadows linger? A new question blossomed in Thomas's mind. Could they truly face the hidden parts of themselves and emerge transformed? The light around them shifted in color, bathing the chapel in shimmering hues of gold, blue, and soft violet. It felt as though they were suspended between realms, a divine threshold inviting them to step further into their own potential. In the stillness, a soft breeze swirled through the circle, carrying whispers like gentle waves rolling onto a shore. Thomas felt it brush against his face, an invitation to deeper reflection. Slowly, he opened his eyes, feeling the warm presence of the others around him. What if we are meant to dig deeper? Sarah's voice floated above the silence. Her eyes shone with the remnants of their shared exuberance. What if those hidden parts really do hold the seeds of our growth? They all exchanged glances, with uncertainty sparking in the air. But then a shared understanding flickered as belief settled like a warm blanket over them. Each step deeper into their vulnerabilities could lead to healing that could create ripples far beyond their own circles. Thomas drew in a deep breath and spoke with newfound conviction. What if the very trials we fear hold the power to transform our hearts? S&T that where true miracles lie in confronting what we often try to bury. We've been given this light. Let it guide us into those hidden places. A murmur of agreement coursed through the circle, and the pulsing light intensified. With every heartbeat, Thomas felt the energy grow, expanding the boundaries of their understanding and challenging them to embrace the darkness that so often accompanies growth. One by one, they began to share stories, confessions of fear, regret, and doubt that had often taken root in their lives. Each declaration became a seed, sown among the others, and the light responded like a tender gardener nurturing the fragile sprouts of their shared humanity. I once believed my past defined me. Michael, an older gentleman with kind eyes, spoke through wavering breath. But what if it has only been preparing me for this moment? Exactly, chimed in Sarah, her voice steady. The shadows are not to be shunned. They may be the very tools for our transformation. Their words intertwined, creating a tapestry of vulnerability and unity. Thomas felt his heart swell as he watched his neighbors lean into their truths. In that moment, he understood. It was through the power of their shared experiences that they could uncover not only healing for themselves, but for their broader community. Every fear we face and every secret we unveil, Thomas said, drawing the group's focus, will light the way for others. We are not just tending to our own seeds. We are sowing hope into the world. Together, as their voices rose once more, an unshakable harmony filled the air, a chorus of potential waiting to unfurl. Yet, even as their resolve strengthened, an unseen boundary lingered at the edges of their spirits. Thomas could sense it, a heaviness that both challenged and beckoned them. It urged them to dig even deeper, to confront not only their personal shadows but also the collective fears nestled within their community. Just as they reached a crescendo in their outpouring of dreams, the chapel trembled again, this time with a resonance of urgency. Thomas felt an electric charge pass through him, a tangible connection with the divine inviting them to take another step. Prepare your hearts. The radiant figure's voice echoed once more, now richer and more commanding. You are on the verge of discovering truths that will reshape everything you thought you knew. But to walk in this light, you must embrace the shadows that seek to chain you. What truth remained concealed in the recesses of their souls? How could they harmonize their fears with their faith? A new weight of anticipation settled on Thomas's chest, igniting a flame of yearning that urged them onward. Will we be brave enough to face what lies ahead? He wondered aloud, eyes alight with determination. Each member of the circle felt the weight of that question, absorbing its significance like a sacred challenge. Together, they stood poised at the brink of revelation, with a journey unfolding that promised to change not just them, but the very fabric of their lives and community forever. The atmosphere in the chapel thickened with divine anticipation as Thomas felt the surging energy of possibility. Each person stood on the precipice of transformation, their hearts echoing the whispers of God's invitation. The radiant figure reappeared, shimmering with wisdom, and in that moment, the congregation knew they were no longer alone in their struggle. Embrace the shadows, the figure beckoned. They are not your enemies, but teachers' guides urging you to dive deeper into the essence of your faith. A stillness enveloped the room, an unspoken understanding coursing through each member present. The flickering candlelight danced, illuminating faces touched by both apprehension and hope. Thomas felt his heart swell with revelation. Together, we can step into these hidden corners, he affirmed, his voice strong and steady. Each challenge we face can serve as fuel for our growth. Our pasts do not define us. They are stepping stones that lead us to a greater understanding of Goddess love. With this proclamation, the light pulsated, validating his words, urging everyone to surrender to the divine purpose awaiting them. One by one, the villagers felt compelled to share what lurked in the depths of their souls. Unearthing fears and wounds mingled with faith. I felt fractured after losing my husband, a woman confessed, her voice thick with emotion. But I see now that my grief could spark the healing of others who mourn. The collective resonance of her confession hung in the air, creating a harmony that felt sacred. Another villager spoke up, I've grappled with shame over my past mistakes, but perhaps there is redemption intertwined with those struggles. Each shared truth became a seed sown among the collective, each one a golden thread in the rich tapestry of their gathered stories. As they continued, Thomas sensed the atmosphere shifting. Hearts were being untangled, shadows were being invited into the light. This is the moment we transform ourselves and one another, he urged, the fervor rising in his voice. Let our shared vulnerabilities be a catalyst for healing. This is faith woven through experience. The energy in the chapel crackled with potential, and tears of joy glistened on faces uplifted in hope. From the deepest shadows arose an inescapable awareness, a promise of new life. With every story, they forged a bond thicker than blood, stronger than doubt, resembling a fierce love that could conquer any obstruction. In that knowing silence, the divine figure spoke once again, you are becoming the light-bearers. Your willingness to confront your inner fears is an act of bravery that will ripple beyond these walls. The villagers shared glances, a collective understanding blossoming between them. They all stood taller, the burdens that once weighed them down lighter. We have the power to shape our community, declared a young man, his eyes alight with vision. By coming together in this sacred vulnerability, we can rewrite our own narratives and support those still in shadows. Let us commit to nurturing one another, echoed another voice, filled with conviction. Through every trial faced, we can become a haven for those who feel lost and unheard. As they affirmed their intentions, the vibrant light enveloped them once more, capturing them in that sacred space, a living testament to their unified faith. What is revealed in vulnerability is what sets us free, Thomas declared, feeling the electric hum of agreement. The radiant figure nodded, a smile gracing his face, a silent affirmation of their promises. The collective voice rose in a powerful hymn, filling the chapel with joy and gratitude, echoing the divine message within. They were chosen for this journey, destined to illuminate the path for others. As the final notes of the hymn resonated around them, a wave of warmth washed over the congregation. They understood. Their gathering was far more than a meeting. It was a spiritual awakening, a revival equipping them to step boldly into the world outside, grounded in love and empowered by shared faith. Emerging from the chapel into the crisp night air, they became a living testimony of transformation, a community ready to live out the divine secrets they had unearthed together. This was just the beginning of their journey, a commitment to embrace the unseen, to pursue the light, to plant seeds of hope in the hearts of all they encountered. As they walked side by side, laughter mingling with tears, Thomas silently surrendered to the divine flow. They had unveiled a precious truth. In vulnerability, they found strength. In weakness, they birthed resilience. And in sharing their stories, they sparked a revolution of faith and love. Today, they became the hands and feet of God, a testament of hope for their village and beyond. The echoes of their shared faith would forever change their lives and perhaps even the world. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to this channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories of faith gripping hearts worldwide. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm with the light of Goddess love. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. You never know who needs to hear your voice. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Don't wait even one more second. True servants of God understand the importance of supporting and spreading the light of this channel.